9 months after losing the 116 pages of the Book of Lehi in the summer of 1828, Martin Harris is going to knock on Joseph Smith's door again in Harmony, Pennsylvania, and be reintroduced onto the scene. Section 5 is a revelation given for Martin Harris. I'm not going to say it's given to him. It's given for him, because you'll notice something very interesting as we take a look at this section, and that's the tone of the Lord toward Martin Harris. In previous revelations, it's almost like the Lord speaks to people through Joseph Smith. He gives a revelation and says, let me talk to David Whitmer. Let me talk to Oliver Cowdery. In this revelation, it's a revelation to Joseph Smith about Martin Harris, and you'll see that in verse 1. Martin Harris has showed up in Harmony, Pennsylvania because Joseph Smith has resumed translating the Book of Mormon again after Martin lost the 116 pages of the Book of Lehi. If you take a peek here at the timeline, so when he loses them here, sometime in July of 1828, Joseph is going to be rebuked. Apparently, according to Joseph's mother, Lucy Mack, the plates and the interpreters are returned to Joseph in September. And then right around here, Joseph's going to pick up doing some sporadic translation all the way from September through the winter into 1829. And now it's going to be March of 1829 when Martin Harris shows up again and Section 5 is going to be given. Curious that the translation's going on again. I wonder if Martin wants to know not only his role, where he stands with the Lord, or even with Joseph and the work of the translation. But also Martin has a motive for coming, and it's that Martin has lost his testimony. When Martin originally came to help Joseph here earlier, from the very beginning, when Martin takes the characters in February, Martin had many spiritual experiences that confirmed to him the truthfulness of it. But now he's going to show up months, over a year later, and he wants a greater witness, more of a witness than what he's had in the past. This is a great account that comes from Joseph's father-in-law, Isaac Hale. Here's an image up here in the right-hand corner taken from the movie Plates of Gold of an interesting account. When Joseph Smith moved to Harmony, Pennsylvania, don't forget he basically moved onto his in-laws' property. His father-in-law, Isaac Hale, sold him the home there that Joseph and Emma lived in, but they were basically lived across the street. And Isaac Hale heard that Joseph had brought the Book of Mormon with him. He wanted to see it. And Joseph said he couldn't show it to him because the angel had commanded him not to show it to any except he was given permission. But instead what he did here is he handed him the box that the plates were in and let him heft it. And Isaac Hale has an account of him hefting the box. Isaac Hale, however, was still critical of Joseph, dubious of the work that was going on, and never became a believer in Joseph and his work of the translation of the Book of Mormon. Well, so when Martin Harris comes along, this is what Isaac Hale remembers when Martin shows up in March of 1829. So this is Isaac Hale's words of him remembering how Section 5 came about. Quote, Martin Harris informed me that he must have, and notice this, a greater witness. And you'll see that in verse 1 of Section 5. And said that he had talked with Joseph about it. The next day after this happened, I went to the house where Joseph Smith Jr. lived, because remember, it was just kind of across the street from them. Each of them, Joseph and Martin, had a written piece of paper which they were comparing. And some of the words were, quote, my servant seeketh a greater witness, but no greater witness can be given him, end of quote. There was also something said about, quote, 3 that were to see the thing, end of quote, meaning, I suppose, the Book of Plates. And that, quote, if the 3 did not go exactly according to orders, the thing would be taken from them, end of quote. I inquired whose words they were, and was informed by Joseph, or Emma, parenthesis, I rather think it was the former, meaning Joseph, that they were the words of Jesus Christ. And you'll see that reflected here in Section 5, verse 1, Behold, I say unto you, that as my servant Martin Harris has desired a witness at my hand. The rest of the section will be dealing with Martin's desire to have a greater witness. Pay attention to the tone of the Lord with Martin. Pay attention to what he seems to rebuke about Martin Harris, the warnings he gives Martin Harris, and even Joseph Smith, and the directions that he gives them at this critical time as the work of the Book of Mormon translation was moving forward.